Welcome to the AI Effect, the show for small business owners who are ready to move beyond quick hacks and actually build smarter, more resilient businesses with AI. We'll talk honestly about what's working, what's a mess, the risks you really need to know about, and the simple experiments that create real results. I'm Tara Elzingre, an AI strategist and digital tool trainer, and my job is to make this feel doable, not daunting. Let's begin now.
Hey everyone, Tara Elzingre here, and before we get into today's episode, I do want to mention that this one is not strictly about AI, but I do feel like it is a very important conversation to have for business owners. Sophia and I joined together last August to do a 100 No's challenge, and we are sharing our story of the 100 No's challenge, and hopefully it inspires you to potentially do your own and to potentially find an accountability partner within business itself. Thank you so much for being a fan of the show, and I really would appreciate any feedback you have. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you have any comments or questions, please do reach out.
Okay. Hello, my name is Tara Elzingre, and I am an AI strategist and digital tool trainer and the founder of Tara Elzingre Consultancy. I work with small business owners in supporting them with their AI strategy in their business. I look at the problem areas and see where AI can fit, and I also help to train them up on different digital tools.
And I am Sofia Kalfa, managing partner of Elzingre Coffee. Elzingre Coffee provides sustainable coffee and beverage solutions to Irish consumers and Irish businesses.
Thank you so much for coming down today to my fabulous office down here in Tralee. And we wanted to come together because we've actually been doing something really interesting for the past maybe 6-7 months.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and it actually all started back in April when you came to a Network Garden Kerry event. You're a member of Network Garden Cork and took advantage of the fact that you can go to the other brand events. And I was telling you about this really interesting idea I had about 100 No's challenge.
Yeah, and you convinced me that it's a thing that we should be doing.
So we decided, and I'll give a bit of a definition about what the 100 No's is, but we basically decided to come together every Tuesday, spend 30 minutes in the morning, focusing on the 100 No's challenge. So what the 100 No's challenge is, and I'm going to read off a definition of it. 100 No's challenge is a deliberate decision to seek rejection instead of avoiding it. Instead of waiting to feel ready, you actively ask for opportunities that feel slightly or very uncomfortable, knowing most will say no. The goal isn't the yes. The goal is momentum, visibility, confidence, and unexpected doors opening along the way. And I think we can both safely say that after this challenge, we have both had so many unexpected doors opening up. So really looking forward to kind of chatting to you a little bit more about that. And I suppose just kind of what insights you've got, what insights I've gotten from it, and where we are today because of it as well.
And I think we really did challenge ourselves. There is something about, putting yourself out there. And I think we really did put ourselves out there.
For sure.
And there was, what the word that comes to mind is liberation.
Yes.
From, I have to approach a business customer, respective customers, and I have to leave with a yes. I have to leave with a deal.
Yeah, it took the pressure off in that sense, didn't it?
For us, it was 100% different.
Yes.
As you kind of said, the whole idea with this was to do it without having the expectation that you need to leave that conversation or that meeting with a yes.
That's it.
Yeah. Celebration for sure.
Absolutely. And to see how we kind of started it, we went on to ChatGPT and we both kind of used a similar prompt, but aligned with our business and our business goals and what it was that we were trying to achieve from it. So I will add and share the prompt with everybody as well so that if they are interested in doing it and aligning it with themselves. But it did take a bit of tweaking to make sure what we wanted to get out of it was actually certain. We created an Excel spreadsheet to kind of track the no's essentially. And it was interesting, obviously, I suppose we kind of had slightly different approaches to it. So maybe you can talk me through a little bit about your approach to the challenge.
I think I did a lot of customization in terms of, ChatGPT tends to give you a little bit of the same worded in a different way. And I had to, working through the list, I had to ask myself, is this really where I want to go? Do I need to approach a different business or approach it in a different way or do a slightly different thing? from what
Yeah.
the results from the search in ChatGPT was. So I did that, and I found that in doing, I also got to add different actions that
Yes.
I realized may be more meaningful to the business. And again, aiming for the no allowed me to go for things that I normally would have waited, maybe would have organized myself differently. And a lot of those came through.
And can you give me maybe an example of one of those?
So, for example, I would have never intentionally approached customers that I didn't have some sort of a connection with, either through LinkedIn or somewhere. I have always thought that it's better, and that we read a lot of that as well. Like, add somebody on LinkedIn, allow them to follow your journey, sound advice, but also it takes longer and it removes the risk in a sense, but then it also removes the risk of putting yourself out there, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I did that, and 2 of those reach outs actually came through, and they've now become customers.
Amazing.
I wouldn't have done that.
No, and I honestly think there's an interesting story in there as well about the first few weeks when we started to do it. One thing you and I started to do was to cold outreach to a lot of people. And we got through our 100 no's quite fast in those few weeks, but it was actually a really good lesson to learn in reality that the approach of like kind of cold sales didn't really work for either of our businesses. And so we needed to kind of come at the challenge a little bit different and pivot it in a slightly different way, but a way that, again, as you said, built up those meaningful connections, but still allowed you to step outside your comfort zone. And I remember, like, and I know you know this story about me sitting in the car with you. I had to take the phone call in the car because I had an eye appointment. And I went into the eye appointment, and one thing I would always shy away from doing is, if someone asked me what I do, I probably would say, oh, I just work for myself. But instead I gave my 30-second, this is what I actually do. And now that optician is my client. And I honestly believe it was the power of, because you had just finished telling me the story on that call about how you had landed a client in a very kind of haphazard way as well. But I think it was, in my mind, but both of us kind of contribute both of those to doing the challenge and putting ourselves out there a bit more.
And it was, it did keep us on track, having that Tuesday meeting every morning. That accountability was also a huge part of, I have to go out and do my 1, 2, 3, 4 actions now this week.
And it's the action of asking, which really kind of came out of it as well, where I think both of us stepped into something new, because you're trying to get a yes or a no. So you have to ask the question in order to get the answer. And instead of kind of waiting for somebody to come to you, now all of a sudden we're asking those questions and getting responses. And I know, I suppose, for me, there were a lot of no's. I think when I counted down to it, there was maybe about 70 out of the 100 were no's, but the 30 that were yeses were so powerful. Now, a lot of those are still even long-term ones that haven't actualized yet. But I got my first long-term client out of it, as I mentioned, the optician. And I managed to do a lot more speaking opportunities in the meantime as well. Finding some really interesting collaborations. Not everything that was on the list was a strict no. It was a maybe later. But it opened those conversations with people that I may not have had I not asked those questions.
I hear you 100%. And what I want to add is, you know how you said cold outreach didn't work for us. And I think there is something really important in that. At least the way the list was created was all about you personally.
Yes.
Reaching out to somebody else personally.
It's very important differentiation, actually, to kind of say, well, what did we do instead if we weren't doing cold outreach? Well, we were actually starting to look at those connections that we had made up, but then we were also starting to make ourselves a bit more available. So, for instance, you put yourself forward for the three
Business award.
yeah,
No.
exactly.
And that worked out all right.
And that worked out, exactly. I mean, you know, will you tell us a little bit about that?
And the women change in the world. That's another one.
I know, just absolutely incredible. Yeah.
Another thing that, I was stretched maybe to pursue. Because a lot of the times we think, that I have to have X, Y, or Z before I do. And that's not the case at all. So, what we've done is what we've done, eliminating 100 kg of waste between compostable coffee pods and plastic syrup bottles and for coffees and what have you. So that is a reality that has happened. I put that forward. I normally wouldn't. I would wait until it's something uber impressive, a ton of it.
Yeah.
And other different initiatives that, I wouldn't necessarily have spoken about, like the fact that we operate a return packaging scheme for our wholesale customers. All those few bits and pieces, or my engagements with universities, I really truly believe that we have a responsibility to nurture the next generation of leaders. They're now sitting in classrooms.
Yeah.
But they will either work for businesses, create their own, lending your experience, helping them to understand the landscape is pivotal. So all those things I had to put down on paper. Would I have? Probably not.
And because, again, when you're working, and I say this to my clients all the time as an AI strategist who helps and supports people to work on their business, it can be very hard to work on your business when you're working in the business. So quite often we have all of these ideas floating around in our head. I'd love to get to this and I'd love to get to that. But sitting down on a Tuesday morning again, spending that 30 minutes knowing that I was going to have to talk to you about what I've done, it just meant that I had to have that action. And it was a very simple thing, but because you almost have it felt very nice to do it. Not to say that you couldn't do it by yourself, but I feel doing it with somebody else, and not exactly the same business at all, different customers, but we were able to bounce ideas off of each other. Or you would say, I'm having kind of this problem with this, or maybe you're kind of saying, oh, I'm just going to forget about it. And I possibly give you a word of encouragement. And you would do the same for me. Or, hey, you've tried this approach, but what about trying that approach instead to it? So it's, okay, maybe I did get the no initially, but then you'd nudge me to kind of go further. And maybe before I just be like, oh, it's not going to happen now, And similar as you said, like for me in the AI space, it's adapting and moving so fast, that trying to feel like an expert in it can sometimes make me feel like I'm already behind. And so putting myself out there into these different opportunities and introducing myself, this simple act of just introducing myself when I walked into a room, has made such a difference, because it has opened up so many different conversations and rooms that I probably would have avoided before. Like even going to Web Summit over in Lisbon was absolutely such an incredible experience. And, I grew so much, my network grew so much from it, and just putting myself out there and doing that when there wasn't a return on investment that you could kind of pinpoint from it as well, Immediate. Yeah.
Wasn't it just that? Did you not find that not being attached to the outcome was the key?
Yes.
Because I think that's part of what maybe holds us back.
Yeah.
The fact that we are going to do something to get a certain result, and when we don't, we feel we have somehow failed. But that releases you from that whole idea, because what is the outcome?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's it. And I think it takes that fear away, because you've got less pressure on yourself then. Yeah. Because if you get that no, it's like, well, I'm winning the challenge. But it's safe to say I didn't actually get 100 no's. As I mentioned, I got about 70. For yourself, what would you say? Was it close to 100?
Half and half, right?
Yeah.
So I got half yeses, half no's, and I still have a list of, no responses.
Yes.
Let's count in the no's.
Yeah.
But the ones that did come through,
were, and that's it. And we have decided to keep on with this challenge as well. So we will definitely get to 100 no's each.
No fear of us. We will.
Okay, so I've just got a few questions there that I think would be good to answer as well. How did the first no land emotionally for you?
Oh, dear Lord. So, the truth is, it was far less depressing is the word that comes to mind. So I'm just going to use it.
Yeah.
Than what it would have been if it weren't for this.
I think so too. Yeah. I would say that the first one is always the hardest because it's like you're kind of ripping off the band-aid and you're like, am I really doing this to myself right now? You know, on top of everything else that you're doing. But considering how fast both of our businesses have grown since we started it, each no got easier. To the point now where I don't fear that rejection. Bring it on. And again, like that, you know, I put myself forward for the Network Ireland Kerry AI Award. I did the same with the Digital Women Award. I didn't get either of them, but I learned so much from those two journeys, and I'll put myself forward again. You know, it's not gonna. I know what I need to kind of do to get there next time. So there were some really hard no's. I don't know. Like the first one is probably the hardest, and then there's some that you really think are going to turn into a yes, and they don't, and that's hard as well. But I feel for myself anyway, it was such a lesson in putting myself out there that it gave me that like pillar of resilience that I kind of needed to actually scale my business.
And there is a lot to be said about the experience you gain. You know, you mentioned awards. I think you become better. The more you apply, the more you do, the more you start realizing what it is that they want to know about you. Not all awards are the same, they don't assess the same things. So even that experience that you wouldn't have had if we weren't doing this, I think speaks volumes.
That's it. Because you do learn more about your target audience and the people you want to work with and the people who want to work with you more as well, because you're having more of those conversations. So you're actually becoming more of an expert in that side of things. Again, I suppose we've kind of touched a little bit on that imposter syndrome that potentially both of us have felt a small bit. But, you know, selling yourself is really difficult. It's possibly one of the most challenging parts of it. But again, because neither of us felt like we were selling ourselves because we were expecting the no, I think it kind of came across as a bit more authentic.
And it was more effective. You know, people know when you're selling to them. People understand when you're there to get, I don't want to say get something from them. I mean, it's what we do. We have businesses, right? It just sets a completely different tone to a conversation when you're not there to, you know, buy my coffee, buy my service. It's a conversation. I'm going to tell you what I do. If you like it, I'm sure you're going to let me know. And if it's relevant to you, and if you want to do business with me, and not having the end result in mind, I'll say that again, is just.
I learned this from Kingstown College, CIA, which is what can you control, what can you influence, and what can you accept. And I think in this, it's, well, what can I control? I can control my actions in making this happen. You know, I can be my best and put my best foot forward into it. I can influence their decision to a certain point, but I do need to accept that the outcome may be a no. And I feel like that's really relevant for this here now, because again, that's what we were doing. It really didn't matter what the outcome was. Either way, we were going to take the lesson and we were going to take it back and apply it to something different. And I think coming back on a Tuesday morning and talking about it with somebody else and saying, actually, it was really crappy. I didn't get the yes, but here's what I learned. And saying it out loud so you can hear it, so someone else can hear it. Your AI companion can potentially hear it and record it for you. You know, it kind of just almost affirmed that lesson a little bit more so that it felt a bit deeper. Let's see if we can have one or two more questions. Drag on this for too long now, but which no led to something better?
That is a great question. Do you remember that time that I did an email campaign for offices and I sent, God, about 200 emails and got 0 responses?
That's right.
They were all no's.
Yeah.
Actually, that could have been my whole list of actions. So 200 no responses. It made me think, you know, Was the content at fault? Was the time I sent it at fault? Was it that they didn't get it? Was it that, all those things? And I felt, oh my God, I'm after reaching out to 200, let's call it people or businesses potentially, and not even one of them has said, no, thank you. That was hard in the sense that it made me wonder, was I doing it right? Was that the right thing to do? But it started a whole process, okay, so I've done this cold outreach and it certainly does not work, whether it's the market we're in, because people value personal relationships in Ireland. If you're somebody they can buy from, whatever it is, a product or a service, they expect to have heard about you in some sort of way. So that actually changed my course for me, and I focused more so on creating awareness around the brand rather than trying to sign people up to a company that maybe they had never interacted with before, that might not trust for all intents and purposes. Sure, I've never heard of you. So tough, but completely a huge lesson that completely changed the course of how I approach things thereafter.
Yeah, that's
What about
good.
you?
So, there was kind of maybe two examples that was floating in my head, but I think the AI challenge was probably the one that I'm going to stick with now, because this was my first time doing a hackathon. I almost pulled out of it every day on the run up to it. I had to put my details forward as to what I could bring to this challenge to a team in a WhatsApp group. And my husband will tell you I struggled for days to just type in my name, what it was I could do and what I could bring into it, and add my LinkedIn to that WhatsApp, because I was seeing all of these experts coming in and I just was psyching myself out. But anyways, put myself forward, and over 6 teams actually asked me to join their teams, which was incredible. It just felt really, really good. So joined this team for Coupla, and we went on to do the challenge, and had to be done in a certain way. A lot of lessons learned as someone who's a solopreneur in working in a team environment within those 2 weeks. Went up to Dublin, pitched, and I was certain that we had actually done enough to win the challenge, and we had not. And not only that, when we got the feedback, it was wow. It was kind of another eye opener as well. Asking for the feedback, which not a lot of people do, but asking for the feedback, getting on that call and understanding what happened, led me to having 3 further conversations with people about what I did well within the team, what I brought to the team, and what I could do better next time. And mentioned other projects to me that I could potentially join, and gave me new connections that are now going forward. And we've actually continued on with Coupla. So I'm now a part of that, which is amazing. Co-founder of a company now as well. So if I had never put my name into that WhatsApp group, it wouldn't have happened. So while I did get the no, and while it wasn't the outcome I wanted, it has opened so many different doors.
And that's the power of it, I think 100%.
Yeah, if I'd never put my name into that WhatsApp group, I wouldn't have been here now. Okay, so let's just see if we can maybe ask one more question with it. What would you do differently if we started again?
I don't think I would do anything differently.
No. I feel this time going into it, we'll have a bit of a better structure, more experience, because again, the first few weeks, we were getting a lot of no's.
And we were finding our feet with it as well.
We were finding our feet, but I think again, our approach was kind of, let's do this behind a desk. And it actually wasn't pushing ourselves out. When we realized that sitting behind a desk wasn't going to actually get us to do anything, and we pushed ourselves beyond that, that's where the magic happened.
Yeah. And it takes a minute.
Yeah.
It takes a minute between, deciding to do something, doing it, assessing, learning from the result. But no, I wouldn't change a single thing. And we're going to come into it this year now with more experience, drive, I would say, to achieve. We're in a completely different place this year than we were last year. Exactly. And I think we can both say hand to heart that this was what turned things around.
Absolutely.
And it made a big difference in both of our businesses. We're starting with different ways.
We are, and again, like, I mean, we kind of started it during the summer when I wasn't actually even doing too well health-wise or whatever, but so there definitely was some rocky starts there. But I think the fact that we just continued to do it. Now, not to say that we didn't skip a Tuesday, sometimes we had to do WhatsApp messages instead of the Zoom call, but we would check in with each other every Tuesday, and that really did make a difference. And yes, we're definitely going to start from a much stronger place, and it's easier to get started when you kind of already have flavor for it.
Yeah.
It's like going back for your favorite cup of coffee when you know how it tastes.
I love it. Beautiful plug. Beautiful plug.
Moving swiftly on. If you were to give someone advice in starting 100 No's Challenge, what would it be?
I don't like giving advice, right? So I'll give my opinion.
Give your opinion. That's perfect.
So I would say, don't overthink it. Just do it. You don't even have to really do anything, You're going to share the prompt with people so they can just enter it in their favorite AI application and they can see what comes out and they can get started step by step. It's going to feel a little bit, it's like trying on new shoes.
Yeah.
You don't immediately feel comfortable in them.
No.
But stick with it.
That's
It
it.
works.
Yeah. And I suppose on that as well, our journey with it is potentially going to be very different than someone else's journey as well. So, like just making sure not to compare journeys.
Yeah.
Everybody has different challenges and different ways of approaching things. So even though I'll be sharing the prompt so that you can just get started with it, giving you the definition, you've heard myself and Sophia's like stories. And again, like I just think it's incredible how much we've achieved within the 6 months of having each other's backs, showing up for ourselves and showing up for each other. It really has made such a difference. And hopefully someone else is taking something else away from this today about just pushing yourself out there this year and letting, not waiting for the opportunities to come for you, making those opportunities for yourself.
Yeah. I feel we should end on a motivational note. Go for it this year. What's the worst that could happen? The goal is no anyway.
I love it. Go for no.
AI is already inside your business. The real change happens when you start using it on purpose. If this conversation was helpful, follow the AI effect. Leave a short review and share this episode with someone who's figuring this out alongside you. I'm Tara Elzingre, and I'm back soon with more real talk on what's working, what's breaking, and how to make AI feel doable, not daunting.